feedback. I'm hereby joined with Srinivas, who is a fellow at WRI India. And to introduce him, Srinivas is the fellow at WRI India and is working in creating sustainable transport solutions and improving road safety. Additionally, Srinivas was actively involved in various citizen movements and local governance back at his time in Bangalore. And he was also the co-founder for Citizens for Bengaluru, which is again an instrumental platform of creating public awareness and policy changes via various campaigns in the city. Very much important and interestingly, he is a strong advocate of empowered local government and citizens participation, and Srinivas has worked on reviving ward committees in the Bengaluru City Corporation. I thank you so much, Srinivas, to join us for this live. Just to set a bit of context for this discussion, the discussion is majorly on this new public consultation notification that is out for public feedback. So the Government of Karnataka under the Greater Bengaluru Governance Act 2025 has proposed the formation of 5 new corporations by dividing the existing city limits of BBMP, which is the Bruhat Bengaluru Mahanagar Palike. With this particular notification, the aim is to improve governance and public service delivery by Bengaluru's growing population, which now exceeds 14 million people. Historically, the city has expanded rapidly from just 180 square kilometers in 1919 to over 800 square kilometers to 2005 by absorbing nearby towns and councils. This particular draft has been prepared keeping in mind various factors such as population, area, economic activity, infrastructure, and revenue generation. I would keep the forum open for Srinivas about your opinions and your understanding about this draft notification. And as the domain expert, what are the various lenses that we can look through at this particular administrative move within the Act of 2025 and this draft notification?
Okay, thanks, Hetvi, for that introduction. The main thing that is happening in Bengaluru right now is almost like a redesign of the urban governance of our city. As you pointed out rightly, the city has grown tremendously and very rapidly, and the municipal governance could not keep pace with the growth of the city in terms of delivering services, quality of life, inclusive access to public amenities and all of that. So like any big city and a mega city, we have very many challenges with water, waste, transport, which is commonly known as traffic problem, and things like that, right? So this is an attempt of redrawing the municipal boundaries, redesigning how city government works in Bengaluru. So the current notification that you want to have the discussion about is came out of a larger bill or act now called the Greater Bengaluru Governance Act 2024, which is created something called a Greater Bengaluru. So we are going from Bruhat Bengaluru to Greater Bengaluru, and Bruhat also means great in English. The Kannada word Bruhat also means larger or bigger. But now we are going to a Greater Bengaluru. For those of us interested in urban governance, third tier of governance is a very unique model of governance that the Government of Karnataka is trying to bring about by making the larger municipal corporation into smaller pieces, five corporations in place of one big corporation. But that's not the only change they're bringing about. While the erstwhile BBMP is becoming 5 smaller corporations, called North, West, South, Central, and East. So literally they have carved out the existing BBMP into 5 city corporations, all of them named as such. Instead of calling it Bengaluru Corporation, it is now Bengaluru Central Corporation, Bengaluru East Corporation, West Corporation. So everyone gets the name Bengaluru and the geographic orientation of it. So that's one. But these corporations will sit under a new governance structure that is also coming in. that is called the Greater Bengaluru Authority. Now, the Greater Bengaluru Authority is an entirely new construct, not seen anywhere in India, to my knowledge, because it is trying to model something like a Greater London Authority or a metropolitan governance model in other countries, where there is a body at a apex level that looks at the city governance as a whole, including all the functions. To give you some clarity on it, the erstwhile BBMP only has power over roads and garbage and things like that. Parks,
Mhm.
roads, garbage, lakes. That's it. But it had very little control over electricity, water supply, sewerage systems. These are the other parastatal agencies that were operating in Bengaluru. Now the GBA, the good thing about GBA is it brings them all together. So there is better coordination between the different service providing organizations. The bad thing about GBA is that it is controlled by the state government and there has no elected authorities from the city. So it is headed by the chief minister, who is elected for chief minister for the state of Karnataka. So though nobody has elected him or her to look after Bengaluru, that person will get to be the head of the GBA, which is something very odd and doesn't seem to uphold the spirit of decentralization. But if you look at it from the other perspective, it's the first time it's trying to bring all the different agencies under one roof. So
Right,
this is
right,
the way in which it is different. And the 5 corporations will now be autonomous. They have their own budgets, they have their own councils, they have their own mayors, and they get to make their own decisions about what happens in their city corporation. So that's a very welcome step in terms of decentralized urban governance.
right. Thank you so much, Srinivas. Actually, that lays down the foundation of what this act is about and what this particular notification is speaking about. Before I jump into any administrative or governance questions, I really wanted to understand from a citizen's perspective, how should they look at this particular administrative move and the Act of 2024? With this new notification on the 5 corporations, and how can the citizen participation be maintained when this particular act comes into implementation, and what is supposed to be a lookout during the transition phase? And I would just like to add one more question. Since you've already worked with ward committees in the Bangalore, so how can we also look at the reconfiguration of ward committees within this new setup?
Sure, that's a great question. There are a lot of issues with the Greater Bengaluru Act. There are a lot of pros, a lot of cons, and your perspective might be different based on where you're coming from. But one thing that everyone appreciates about the new Greater Bengaluru is the importance it is given to the ward committees. Why is ward committee important? Ward committee is the only legal method of engaging with the government, local government. Ward committee is what gives the power to the people at the street level, right? While you have an elected councillor or corporator, there is also a ward committee made up of citizens that will work with the
Right.
corporator and act as a bridge between the elected representative, in this case councillor, to the citizens of that ward. Now, in the earlier scheme of things, that ward committee had 10 members, and those 10 members were randomly chosen by the corporator, elected corporator. So, depending on the mood of that person, the motives and incentives of the person, he or she may involve active citizens or may not. So, and this has been a case in Bengaluru, as you mentioned, we worked on ward committees for a long time. In some wards, the corporators genuinely brought in active citizens, because every street in India, any city you take, there's somebody or other who is public minded, right? Either a senior citizen or a young person, women, many leaders, local level leaders exist, and because of them, a lot of good things happen. They are the ones that call when
Right.
the street light goes out. They are the ones that complain when there is a flooding in the area. They work with the local engineers. They're very collaborative and try to engage with the system so that their quality of life can be better. If not perfect, at least better than what it is. Those are the people that need to be in the ward committees. In the new scheme of things, the first thing that will happen is that the number of wards will increase. As you pointed out at the beginning, there's going to be 5 corporations. So they are going
Right.
to create more number of wards in each of these corporations. Today we have 225 wards. We don't have a clarity on how many wards will be there, all five combined, but we might go up to 300, 400 wards, which is very good and very positive because you need smaller wards for better administration. Smaller area of governance is always better for better outcomes. So that means the ward committee will also have citizens within that smaller geographic area. Now, in the new act, the ward committees, half of the ward committee, 7 members, will be chosen by the lottery system. And the lottery
Understood.
system basically means that, let's say, Hethi wants to be in ward committee, you go and put your name in the pot, and
Right.
15 other people give their name, and they're going to pull out 7 names and say, you 7 are the ward committee members. So it's a transparent process. It works well. It has been tested successfully in other countries and other cities. South Africa comes to mind, people like that. So this eliminates the favoritism. This eliminates the intentionally keeping the active citizens out of the governance. Those are the problems that you see in ward committees. In fact, no Indian city has proper ward committees. Karnataka has made a lot of progress on it. Mangaluru has good ward committees. Bengaluru had good ward committees. Until 5 years ago, when the council itself dissolved, the ward committees also got diluted. But now, after these 5 corporations come, we'll get smaller wards. Then we'll have ward elections, hopefully. Then the corporators will take oath. A mayor will be elected. Then the ward committees for the 5 corporations will be formed. At that
Right.
time, the chance for young people that are interested in these matters, have a much better chance of becoming part of governance by becoming a official formal member of the ward committee. So that is what
Right.
is going to look like.
I think that's very, great of having a transparent process and having these ward committees. That's the grassroots level democracy. And as we speak about city and citizens, another few parameters that I would like to rope in is the economic development with the financial growth of now the 5 corporations as well. And as a citizen, I also have this question that in 2020, Bangalore came out with a new property tax framework. So for citizens, are there any service deliveries which will be affected or impacted or rather enhanced with this new move? What would they look out for in terms of property tax, infrastructure funding, and capital investments in the city?
Yeah. So anytime another positive development in this notification is that the 5 corporations get to keep the property tax collected in those 5 corporations. So they don't have to share it with
Right.
anyone else. Right. So that means the mayor, the commissioner of that corporation are highly motivated to maximize the property tax and use it for their own purpose. They become more self-reliant through various
Mhm.
other reforms and digital process and all of that. Bengaluru has made good progress, like you mentioned, on property tax reforms and property tax collection also. Considering the real
Right.
estate value of Bengaluru being so high and the city is still growing, property tax is going to be a very big part of the revenue stream of these 5 corporations. And no
Yes.
one else needs to approve it. If within the council, as the governance students of governance would know, the principle of subsidiarity would come into play. So you
Right.
got money, now you get to spend the money with your own involvement. So
Mhm.
now the ward committees will be more interested, the council meetings, debates will be more lively. They will have a budget drawn up for that particular smaller corporation with the money that available for them. So, so no more complaints about, for example, in Bengaluru, we have certain areas which have grown so much, outer areas, where the property tax is very high. People have built luxury housing and they pay a lot of property tax. But the property tax they collected is used in some other part of the city, right? So it's kind of like the debate we have in India about which state gives how much money in terms of tax collection and how much comes back, right? A similar thing exists at a city and a ward level, right? If this part of the city, outer part of the city is generating so much money as revenue, then the infrastructure gaps of the outer areas are always going to be higher than the central part of the city. The CBD or the core part of Bengaluru is better designed, better connected to water, sewage networks and all of that. You go 10, 15 kilometers away from MG Road and center of the city, you won't find good footpaths, you won't find good drainage systems, all of that, which is why you see flooding, traffic jam, many things, bad roads and all of that. Now the smaller corporations will be in control of their own destiny. Instead of going to
Right.
some central Bengaluru and beg the mayor or make a demand and all of that, their corporators, which is a smaller number, they're all local people. The mayor also will be one of them, and the money is also theirs. So they are much better chance of improving their quality of services. At least it makes things more transparent and accountable. Whether outcomes can be delivered or not, you and I cannot predict. But
Right.
at least things are in their control. Now that one Bengaluru East Corporation will have 5,000 crores as property tax. Now they can decide what to do with that 5,000 crores. Earlier, their 5,000 crores was going into the central pool of Bengaluru city. Now it is staying right there in the East Corporation. So now the mayor of the East Corporation, the councillors of the East Corporation, the ward committees of the East Corporation can together decide how to best utilize this 5,000 crores. So that to me is a game changer. That can be very powerful, provided all the people engage in that system and work towards a strong budget making process, participatory process, not just while making the budget, but delivering the budget once it is made. How is it implemented? How is it executed? Monitoring the projects and so
Right. I think that lays out about the service delivery. But speaking about the economic growth and infrastructural growth for the city, Bangalore is a big IT hub, and there are a lot of education institutions within the city limits as well. And I understand that now with this division, this particular sector of IT hubs being in particular corporation and city, the educational institutions moving up to one particular corporation. So if we consider the Bangalore Development Authority as a whole, the complete boundary of Bangalore Metropolitan, how can we look at the economic and infrastructure development within the city limit?
Yeah, so this is the Greater Bengaluru Authority comes into picture here, right? So what they have retained or rather taken away from the municipal corporations is the larger infrastructure projects that cut
Right.
across the corporations, right? So economic development comes under their purview. They have all the legislators, the MPs, MLAs are part of it. All the departments, line departments of commerce, IT, various other people will have representation in it.
Yes.
The transport providers like Metro and BMTC are now answerable to the Greater Bengaluru Authority. Earlier they were not. They were on their own independent organizations. They are building metro, one is building bus. They were not necessarily coordinating with each other unless it's demanded. Now it is mandated by law. They need to work together as part of the Greater Bengaluru Authority. So therefore, things like economic development, for example, is a big, the big requirement for economic development is the availability of water, energy, waste management, transport, right? You need to provide all of these things, but better economic development and attract investments and so on. So now the corporations will, smaller corporations will compete with each other. Oh, we have better water availability in our ward. We are doing rainwater harvesting. We are doing water conservation. Our lakes are clean and we can reuse the lake water. Different corporations have an opportunity to market themselves, sell themselves, while the Greater Bengaluru Authority will have an opportunity to build big infrastructure that works across, like the metro. Which parts of the city are not connected to the metro? The Greater Bengaluru Authority will ask the right questions and how do you expand the city in a way that it is equitable and nobody is left out from the fruits of the development, right? It can look at social indicators like how many government schools
Right.
exist, how many PHCs are there in which part of the city, and if not, how do you converge with the state level programs, health programs, public health programs, public education programs. The Greater Bengaluru Authority can play a vital role in connecting the departments of state government with the urban service delivery and urban local development of it. So this is how it can go on. In theory, at least, it looks like that. Because it's a brand new model, the whole GBA and the corporations, it's still early days. We have to see how these things go, whether the corporations are truly empowered or not. At this stage, we are at a act followed by notification. We are not there yet
Right.
in terms of rules. We don't have elections yet. We didn't have rules yet.
Yes.
So we should talk about this a few months later. Maybe we'll have a better idea about what's coming.
Right. Thank you so much, Srinivas. Shifting gears a bit towards governance angles and governance questions, the current notification specifies few parameters based on which the boundaries are drawn, which are population, density, revenue, infrastructure. In your opinion, are these the correct criteria for this division, and how can one view at these particular parameters, or any case studies to link it to these parameters being one framework?
Yeah, it's very difficult to do this kind of a division, especially in a big city. What happens is people don't consider them to be a part of an assembly constituency or a ward. They think everyone lives in Bangalore. Whether they live in Whitefield or Jayanagar, we are from Bangalore, as simple as that. And
Right.
the affinity to local governance structures is low, particularly in a city where a lot of people migrate or come in from other cities. They understand parliament elections, but they don't necessarily understand state elections or the urban elections. This is a problem not just in Bengaluru, but any urban city with big growth, right? That is why you will see a huge drop in voting percentage from Government of India, Union government elections, central elections versus the local municipal elections. People don't even know where the ward boundaries is. Which ward do you belong in? People don't know the answer to that. Combined
Right.
with the fact that when you come into a city, you don't necessarily stick to the same place. You come in as a young person, maybe get a campus job, you stay somewhere in a PG or shared accommodation, then you move into an apartment, then you buy a house, various things will happen. So that local connection is very difficult to make. So the
Hmm.
way the divisions are made is based on where the boundaries of existing assembly constituencies are. The Bengaluru has 28 assembly constituencies and 4 parliamentary constituencies, right? And while these are political boundaries, administrative boundaries from the point of view of Parliament and Karnataka legislature, they are also notified as what's called the divisions in the municipal corporation. So in our
Mhm.
municipal
Okay.
corporation, we have the main city corporation split into zones. We have 8 zones currently. In each zone, there are divisions. So we have 28 divisions. Each division is equal to one assembly constituency. There's one MLA for that division. This constant tension between MLA and corporator is very visible in any urban governance structure because MLAs are meant to make laws for the state of Karnataka, but they tend to be more involved in the city civic affairs rather than the state level affairs. I'm not saying all MLAs do that, but many do. So there is a distinction between the local representative versus the state legislative representative is blurred for a lot of citizens. Citizens routinely go to the MLA or MP to fix water problem or to clear garbage and things like that, which is like going to an orthopedic for a heart issue, right? You are going to the wrong person for, the problem is
Right.
meant to be dealt by somebody, but you're going to someone else. So these boundaries are going to make a big difference in how citizens understand who to approach for their things. So the criteria that they're using are the assembly constituency boundaries and natural boundaries. We have lots of water bodies, lakes, and stormwater drains. Those are often used. If you look at state boundaries also, usually they're made around those
Yes.
water bodies and all of that for good reasons, right? So I think they are used multiple criteria like this. Frankly, I'm not a expert to comment whether it's good or bad, but one thing I do know is that these boundaries are not often made with the best interests of citizens in mind, but what makes it convenient for them, right? So that's why as a citizen, and that's why I appreciate what Civis is doing and why I came on this is now if you live in a particular area, you need to look at what the notification says where you belong. If you think you belong in central and your ward or your area is listed under east, now you might want to comment on it. You might want to raise
Right.
an objection or you might want to put a respectful suggestion. Why, we think that, our PHC is here, our schools are here, our bus stop is here. Therefore, our area should come under this corporation instead of this corporation. This is the fundamental right you can exercise as a citizen and inform the government that this is what we think. For what it's worth, right? All of this has come after a lot of exercise inside the government
Right.
and a lot of inputs taken from experts, urban planners, master plan. There's various people involved in that. But still, they might miss some things, and that's where citizens can play a role. And looking at the maps, I would always look at the maps where the boundaries protrude into another area. So now that's something that you should be looking at. If there's an arterial road there, one of the confusions people have, and a lot of people ask me about it, is okay, I live on a road which is part of two corporations. So who is in charge of maintaining this? What happens if there
Right.
are potholes in this road? What happens if the footpaths are broken on this side of the road versus that side of the road? So these are all new things, new cases, because we haven't had smaller corporations. So this is going to be a fun ride as we go into the multiple smaller corporations world very soon. But these are the things that you should pay attention. If you live on a main road, wide road, arterial road as they call it, and that road is split across multiple corporations, look at the map. Look where the boundary is drawn. Where does it begin in your corporation? Where does it end? If it makes sense for them to shift the boundary, and you think, in your considered opinion, as an active citizen, as a responsible citizen, that's when you reply to them through forums like Civis. You can share your feedback and submit it back to the government.
Thank you so much, Srinivas, for making it easier to understand the Greater Bengaluru Governance Act and this notification. That does bring us to the end of this discussion. But one small question I had to ask is, Delhi previously had three different corporations, and which is now merged to one, which is MCD. I also understand that Jaipur is now into two different corporations, Greater Jaipur and Jaipur corporations. You also mentioned that the Act of 2024 is based on a London model. Any learnings that we can take from these national as well as international case studies which can be of relevance to understand this particular act and notification, and can be like a recommendation to this notification?
That's a great question, and that's a big debate in Bengaluru for months now, ever since this came. I'm glad you asked about that. There is no right or wrong answer. Some of this is perspective and opinion, so please don't take
Right.
it as the final word on it or whatever. But you asked two specific things. One is the domestic or Indian within Indian cities, and case studies like London, which this seems to be
Right.
based. As far as to the best of my knowledge, this is not in comparison with either Delhi or Jaipur. Why?
Understood.
Because neither in Delhi nor in Jaipur there is no Greater Delhi Authority or a Greater Jaipur Authority as an umbrella across the three corporations. So Delhi Municipal Corporation, one corporation became three corporations, back to one. That's what happened. Jaipur, one became two, or second one got added, one of those two. In Bengaluru, this is not the case. BBMP existing became GBA plus 5 corporations. So
Right.
therefore, you cannot compare it with Delhi and all of that. And if there is any comparison to be made, the lessons that Bengaluru can learn from Delhi and Jaipur is whether the smaller corporations have success in, because the solutions can be very local. The waste management
Right.
process of Lutyens Delhi, the New Delhi Municipal Corp, the central part of Delhi, can be very different from the outskirts of Delhi, like closer to Haryana or Noida or things like that, because the nature of the waste production, waste processing will be very different. You have different
Right.
processes. In the core of the city, you don't have space, and you have density, and you have better amenities. So therefore, you can put a different policies in place. Right. The metro stations in the center of the city will not have parking, but the metro stations in the outskirts will have parking because people are going to come from somewhere else. Land is available. Right. So this is the difference in the thinking about it. Now let's look at London. I think it's great that the Greater Bengaluru Authority learned a lot about London, and the team that worked on it has spent a lot of time analyzing, global best practices and all of that. This is in the making for many years. The Brand Bengaluru committee, there was many committees that have drafted all this. So we've done a great job of looking at governance models and all that. All that is great, but the Greater Bengaluru Authority doesn't, like the Greater London Authority has a London mayor. The Greater Bengaluru Authority has a Karnataka chief minister. So this is the big difference.
Right.
It's a huge difference because in one case it is the person elected by the citizens of the city in charge of that, directly or indirectly doesn't matter, but the person is accountable to the citizens of the city because he or she, in the case of London, Mr. Sadiq Khan, is a mayor of Greater London. There are many mayors of London, boroughs, the smaller corporations of London, but he is the mayor for the Greater London. In our
Right.
Bengaluru model, there is no such thing called a mayor of the Greater Bengaluru. Greater Bengaluru is a more of an execution body. It's an authority. It is formalizes the state government's control over the urban governance. Now, this has a lot of negative connotations, encroaching upon the subject of third tier of governance by the second tier. That's one way of looking at it, and it defeats the purpose of decentralized governance, 74th Amendment. But the other side of the argument is that what has the 74th Amendment done to us? Does it help cities become stronger and empowered? No, the results are not great with even with 74th Amendment, and a lot of experts feel that the 74th Amendment hasn't delivered because of the weak legislation or the implementation, the
Right.
combination of both. So maybe the Greater Bengaluru model will offer a ray of hope in a metropolitan governance model. Maybe we'll see how that is going to bring different agencies to work together. Only time will tell. But in the meanwhile, all of us can form our opinions based on what our knowledge, what our experience is, and what our lived experiences are.
Right. Thank you so much, Srinivas. It was wonderful discussing with you about this act and notification. It was easier to break it down into simple language, even as a citizen, to understand what it means and how is it going to impact me as a citizen. To all the viewers, I hope this discussion was good enough and easy for you to understand what this act is and the notification is. To further come on the WhatsApp chatbot, which is the link mentioned in the description, and give in your feedback. We at Civus would love to take your feedback back to the concerned authority to make it sure that the public voice is heard at the policy department, behind this notification. And thank you so much, Srinivas, for this discussion, and looking forward to more such insightful discussions with you to break down these laws and understand with the citizens' lens. Thank you so much, Srinivas.
Always a pleasure to work with Civis. You guys doing a great job. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So much.